All right, let's jump right in. Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are tracing the absolute wild life cycle of something you probably interact with every single day. Everyday clothing. I mean, we all click add to cart without a second thought, right? But the actual journey a simple garment takes to get to that digital checkout, it is completely fascinating. We're going to follow that exact path today. We're starting way up in the clouds with these high-level, almost fantasy-like sketches from fashion designers, and then we're going to follow that thread, literally, all the way down to the rigid, metric-driven, and honestly, sometimes completely broken realities of modern e-commerce. It's a journey from pure art to pure data, and trust me, it's going to blow your mind. So here's our roadmap for the journey. We'll start with the blueprint of style, move into sizing and fit reality, look at fabrics, weights, and materials, check out the digital storefront, and finally wrap up with an e-commerce reality check. Let's kick things off with Phase 1, the blueprint of style, where fashion begins. You know, before a piece of clothing ever even gets near a factory floor, before it gets a barcode or a price tag slapped on it, it's just this pure, artistic, structural concept. Just take a look at this initial sketch of a black t-shirt. It's incredibly stark, almost architectural, isn't it? The designer here isn't just drawing a shirt. They're actually mapping out physical architecture. You can clearly see they've specifically annotated things like the horizontal plane and the vertical axis. They are actively planning the structural drape of the garment and making notes about using heavyweight gauge fabric. Honestly, it looks more like a blueprint for a modern office building than a casual piece of clothing. It's highly technical, it's incredibly precise, and at this stage, it's 100% conceptual. But, of course, it's not all just stark black and white. Contrast that architectural sketch with these incredibly vibrant, dynamic pieces. Here, designers are really trying to conceptualize movement and energy. And to do that, they use some seriously intense, high-level jargon. If you look closely at the notes here, you'll spot phrases like neon fractal geometry, stress points, and even an electronic guideline. Yeah, you heard that right. They are trying to capture exactly how a lightweight textile is going to behave on a moving human body, and they're using almost sci-fi level terminology to get that artistic vision across. Actually, let's unpack one of those specific pieces of jargon right now: fabric flow vectors. Now, I know that sounds incredibly complex, right? Like something out of a physics class. But really, it's just the artistic blueprint for the garment's eventual stretch and fit. These are basically conceptual directional lines that a designer maps out. They're trying to predict the totally unpredictable, which is how a lightweight textile is actually going to drape, flow, and stretch when a real, living, breathing human being is wearing it and moving around. It's this beautiful, highly ambitious fantasy of how the clothing should behave out in the real world. Which brings us to our next phase, sizing and fit reality, translating art to measurements. Now, here is where our journey takes a really sharp turn. All of that beautiful, free-flowing art, the flow vectors and the fractal geometry, it all eventually has to be translated into rigid, standardized data for the consumer. And, well, look at the shocking reality of e-commerce sizing here. Let's compare the bust sizes of two different brands, Sightbomb and Tedley. If you buy a size large from Sightbomb, you're getting a garment designed for a 38-inch bust. But then, look at the Tedley brand. Their size small is designed for a 40-inch bust. Let that sink in for a second. A Tedley small is actually significantly larger than a Sightbomb large. I mean, talk about completely shattering the illusion of standardized sizing, right? So the big takeaway here, e-commerce fit relies entirely on raw inches. Period. Once a garment leaves that designer's desk and hits the factory floor, the whole fantasy of neon fractal geometry and fabric flow vectors gets completely tossed out the window. It's entirely replaced by these cold, hard, and, as we literally just saw, wildly varying measurement charts. The art has officially morphed into data. Moving right along, fabrics, weights, and materials, the physical specs. Okay, so now that our garment is measured and sized, we move to the next phase of its life cycle, which is the physical specifications. This is exactly where those conceptual ideas of lightweight stretch become actual, tangible manufacturing realities. Let's compare the physical specs of those two real-world garments we just looked at. On one side, we've got the Sightbomb microfiber ruched top. The data tells us this is a cotton blend, it uses microfiber, and it's highly stretchable. It's designed for a relaxed fit with a medium stretch. Now on the other side, the Tedley Classic crop top is knitted 100% cotton. It's got a solid pattern, it's a pull-on style, meaning no microfiber, no high stretch blends. Those sweeping artistic visions from the designers? Yeah, They've now been completely distilled down into standardized drop-down menus that just list fabric types and material blends. And honestly, nothing illustrates the physical reality of these choices better than this number right here, 80. That is the exact difference in weight, in grams, between these two garments. The 100% cotton Tyler shirt weighs in at 160 grams. Meanwhile, the stretchable microfiber Sight Bomb top is only 80 grams. So the Titleist shirt is exactly twice as heavy as the Sight Bomb piece. When you think back to our very first stop on this journey discussing structural drape, you can really see how this single metric, literally just an 80-gram difference in weight, is going to drastically alter how that garment will actually hang and move on a real human body. All right, up next, the digital storefront presenting to the buyer. So, the garment has been sketched, it's been measured, weighed, and manufactured. Now it has to be presented to you, the online shopper. Just look at how far we've come. Here is the final retail presentation of a pink crop top being worn by a model. Those wild conceptual watercolor backgrounds, the frantic hand-drawn annotations pointing out stress points, totally gone. They've been replaced by a super standard, highly relatable, brightly lit studio shot. Because the goal here isn't to showcase architectural garment theory anymore, it's just to showcase everyday casual wear that a consumer can actually picture themselves wearing right out of the box. But right next to that glamorous studio shot sits some of the most unglamorous data imaginable. I mean, the digital storefront is powered by absolutely mundane, yet totally critical back-end specs. The customer sees a smiling model, sure, but the system just sees an ASIN number, like B0H2VSYQHS. It sees strict importer contact info pinpointed to a manufacturer in Ahmedabad. It demands standardized inputs for product care, explicitly stating machine wash, and it categorizes the whole shebang simply as a relaxed fit. All of that initial art gets neatly boxed into little bullet points just so the search algorithm can find it. And that brings us to our final stop, e-commerce reality check, the final hurdle. So, the designer dreamt it, the factory built it, the algorithms categorized it, and the customer found it. We have finally arrived at the very end of our journey, and here is the ultimate twist ending to the life cycle of everyday apparel. You've navigated the chaotic sizing charts, you've chosen your fabric weights, you've finally clicked checkout, and bam, you're met with this. 503, service unavailable error. We're sorry, an error occurred when we tried to process your request. No way, right? Despite all those brilliant fabric flow vectors, the meticulous supply chain logistics, the perfectly lit studio photography, the entire global system can literally be halted in a split second by a random server error. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought. After all of that meticulous design, the precise mapping of structural drape, the crazy translation of art into raw inches, and the heavy data entry of the digital storefront, what happens when the digital cart simply crashes? It is a pretty humbling reminder that the entire multi-step, incredibly complex life cycle of modern fashion ultimately just bows down to the unpredictable whims of internet connectivity. It really makes you think differently the next time you successfully manage to buy a simple t-shirt online, doesn't it? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember to keep questioning the everyday systems around you.